Now you can sync. Please clap, Luke.
Can we finally go, guys, instead of dicking around?
I'm gonna light you on fire.
Oh my god. This is violent already.
Yeah, and deserved.
Okay, you can start whenever you want, Poopy Pants.
I'm pissed off. I'm so mad. I'm in a bad mood. I want to be here, but I don't want to be anywhere else. Because it's Luke Miani on Genius Bar. Woo! Show Luke Miani, bro. There he is. Look.
Hi. It's me, Luke Miani.
Why do you look so confused, John?
I'm not confused. I'm upset.
At what?
Two of us can't be upset.
I'm upset at Sam because he's been a little shithead since we sat down here, and now he's going to just start the show as normal to pretend to the audience like he's normal. Audience, he's not normal today. There's something wrong with Sam.
All right. Should we just jump into it?
First of all, hi, Luke.
And now
I'm
he's
very glad to have
gaslighting.
you back on the show.
Thank you, John. I'm glad to be back.
I literally already said that.
I am the other guest. Or the other host on
Yes,
this show.
exactly.
I'm the other
Thank
host
you.
on this show,
Hey guys,
so
welcome
I
back
can
to
say
the
whatever I
Sam
want.
Bar.
I think I hate Sam. I think I hate him.
Wow.
Yeah.
If Luke wasn't here, I would have quit.
Before the show, John goes, I want to light you on fire without laughing. And I was like, that's probably
can
not
verify
something you should
that.
ever say to another person. No, I'm mad. You guys know I'm mad.
Why are you mad?
Go ahead.
You can talk
The
to us.
M2
We're here for you.
MacBook Air controversy is out of fucking control.
Are you legit this mad about it? Because, okay.
Bro,
hang on. No, I speak. I need to speak.
Okay.
Audience, can I speak directly to the audience? This is not a character. This is real life. Okay? He says in the show that he's upset about the MacBook controversy, but I would like to inform you that he was legit a pissy panda before we started the show. He was mean. His patience was as long as his sleeves are right now, and he was just angry and mean before the show. So this is not an act. Sam is not playing a character. He's actually an asshole today. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I'm not actually an asshole. I'm fired up, and I wanted to have Luke Miani to talk about it because Luke Miani is part of the problem.
Luke is part of the problem.
Hang on.
Oh, God, here we go.
I'm going to say it.
Hang on, I'm going to take a step out. Hang on, go ahead.
Luke,
why
do I see a video from you talking about thermal throttling today? That shouldn't be a video about the Mac. It's literally, bro, it's a MacBook Air. It's literally made to be fanless. Of course, it gets a little hot if you're doing crazy shit on it. Why are we making videos? Bro, I'm so triggered.
Look.
This is a spicy episode.
Let me finish really quick. We saw this controversy cycle with the M2 MacBook Pro. And then we have Max Tech on this week, and I think we patch everything up. They're like, yeah, we're just doing space testing. And then everybody's like, how to fix thermal throttling on M2 MacBook Air? And I'm like, this isn't a problem, bro. This is made up. Please respond.
This is so spicy.
So, I think... Okay, do you want my take?
Thank you, guys.
The audience, we just raw dogged them so hard. Without warning, we just came in so hot.
I don't have any lube. That's not in my vocabulary.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Well, maybe you should think about the audience's pleasure, Sam, for once.
No. It's all about me.
Okay, Luke.
Sorry.
Typical podcaster.
You have the
Typical
stage.
male. And we're
Thank you, Sam. That was the analogy. Anyway, okay. Here's my take.
Okay.
Because I think as with all of these technology things, there are many different layers to it. So I think I mentioned in one of my videos that the expectation for the MacBook Air has increased. It wasn't always like this. We used to get MacBook Airs and be like, hey, look, you can open a Word document. That's great. And it was not really, expected that you would be able to do anything professional on a MacBook Air. And so since Apple Silicon has come out and the MacBook Air has now become actually powerful enough to be useful for professional tasks, now there's a higher standard for the MacBook Air, because I actually know a lot of people who, responded in YouTube comments, Twitter threads, emails to me, who went from 15-inch MacBook Pros to M1 MacBook Airs. A lot of people made that upgrade. And, if you think about that in the past, it doesn't make sense. It's literally completely illogical, right? Why are you going from the high-end professional workstation to the cheapest Ultrabook? What are you doing? And the reason for it is this. A lot of people had purchased MacBook Pros in the past because everything else was so underpowered that the only way to get enough performance was to buy the big boy, the MacBook Pro. And so what happened is when we went to Apple Silicon, a lot of these people realized that the MacBook Air, even though it was the cheapest, was more powerful than their old 15-inch MacBook Pro. And because they didn't need anything too crazy in the first place, they just needed something that was powerful enough, the MacBook Air fits the bill. So what we have now is a lot more people than before using the MacBook Air for more intense workloads because it can handle it. And so the controversy is, it's not, oh no, a MacBook Air that thermal throttles when you open up 3 Chrome tabs, right? It's not going to care about that. But there is a significant audience of people that recognize that the MacBook Air is a viable professional tool and that recognize that the M2 MacBook Pro is garbage because it's literally the same old design from 6 years ago. So if you're not able to afford a 14-inch MacBook Pro, you're going to buy the MacBook Air. And so if you want to use it for pro tasks, I think it's perfectly valid to examine its ability to carry them out.
Well, that was a response.
Sam, your response?
Oh, John just tweeted while Luke's monologue happened. He said, we are minutes into Genius Bar with @Luke Miani, and it's already too spicy. And then he put a little pepper to just really, Okay. So that was a good response. I'll give you like a B- for that one, because that was honestly better than I thought you would say.
This is what happens all the time, Sam. Here's
my thing. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
You call people out and then they respond and you go, "Oh, actually, that makes sense."
No. That was a good response, but
that was a B-.
I said B-. I didn't say S+.
You're right. Okay.
This wasn't a double A. You guys ever get that in grade school? My grade school teacher would give me like the 2 A's, and that was like better than the 1 A.
That sounds like something they made up to make you feel better.
You're probably right.
I got the double A.
Yeah. I think that was like AAA, or that was like my insurance. I don't know. So,
oh, Sam.
I recorded multiple videos today.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to can both of them and record another one tonight about the state. Hey, that's not at my house. The sirens?
Is that Luke?
Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm on an
It's another insurrection.
Yeah.
Dude.
Honestly.
I win. John, hit me with the music. I get hyped.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I almost failed you, Sam.
Thank you. Okay. I hear what you're saying, Luke. But the fact that I've made videos about this, my core issue with the coverage from a lot of people, minorly you, but others in the community, have been focusing more on relentless benchmarking and really pushing this machine to its limits to highlight its flaws, rather than being like, yeah, there's good things about the MacBook Air and there's bad things about the MacBook Air. Like, I feel like for every other product in Apple's history, people have been like, iPhone 12, it's a great phone, but the battery life could be better. We're not making videos being like, iPhone 12 battery life destruction. And then it's like, oh, the battery life on the iPhone 12 sucks. That's the story for the iPhone 12. It's like, no, it's a fine phone. It's just the battery life isn't as good as it should be. And my personal grievance is that, like, if you just go on YouTube and are like looking for M2 MacBook Air videos, You're going to get people saying that it thermal throttles, that the SSD is slow, and that Apple really messed up. It's like, none of that matters to people looking to genuinely buy the MacBook Air M2, in my opinion. It should be like, hey, if you're doing really heavy work, I did benchmark it, and at 100% thermal throttles and has some issues, unlike maybe something with a fan in it. But to me, I'm just like, this product is really good, and it's being portrayed as like something deeply flawed with a lot of issues. And I'm just like, that's not a fair way to portray this. So I think that's where I'm seeing like how to fix thermal throttling. I'm just like, bro, that implies like just seeing those in your recommended, I feel like is a way a lot of people gain information of just like the general vibe of something. Well, you guys are really letting me talk a long time uninterrupted.
Of course.
That or my connection died. Oh, I was waiting for someone to cut me off. This is crazy. I've never been allowed to go this long before. Does anybody hear what I'm saying? Like, I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
I'm
especially
sorry. That would have
John's,
been
who's sort of like,
that would have been so much funnier if Luke and I did legit leave.
That would be, and
I
he's
was
just
like,
talking
maybe
into
they're
the
just-
void.
That's what it felt like. Am I crazy? Are you guys, John?
Yes.
I want to hear John and then Luke first. Be like, John, you're completely detached from this. All you do is make videos about the iPhone 14.
Well, that's not...
What it,
Bro, I was going to side with you, but now fuck you. Luke, I think you're right.
no. What are your thoughts, John?
Okay,
all joking
so
aside.
I lean more towards you, Sam, which is shocking because we usually don't agree. But I don't think... I lean more towards you in the sense that I think this is being made a bigger deal than it has to be, and I think that this is... I think it's not disingenuous, but it's a little tough to say that this phone, you said iPhone 14. It's a little
So used to saying phone.
It's a little tough to say that, like Luke said, that that this MacBook Air is like geared to do more professional work than before, which might be true, but that's a very subjective. Like you can't.
I didn't say geared. I said capable.
Okay, but
So if people are now looking at the MacBook Air, and I'm just talking about from my audience perspective, the MacBook Air for the longest time was the laughing stock. If you were doing anything professional, I built my entire YouTube channel on essentially, if you can only afford a MacBook Air, here are used alternatives that are more powerful. That's literally how I built my channel.
yeah,
So there are a lot of people that I make videos for, that I get emails, replies, comments, all that stuff from, that are budget conscious and want something that's capable. And so now I think this all stems from the fact that now that the MacBook Air is actually a legitimately powerful device, people have higher expectations for it. And I think the MacBook Air meets those expectations. I mean, I don't know where the sentiment of like, I don't know if you're talking about my coverage or just broadly where people have been hating on it. I personally don't think that the controversies have been... my impression is that people are running with the headlines and not reading the full like actual discussion, because I think I mentioned in my video that for most people, you're not going to notice the difference. And for most tasks that aren't going to be really saturating the heatsink of this MacBook Air, like video editing, like Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, any number of actual legitimate professional tools that do take advantage of the increased performance of Apple Silicon compared to Intel, but that aren't going to be doing it for a very long time, that's like the sweet spot for the MacBook Air. And my whole point was advocating for getting the MacBook Air over the Pro, because the only benefit to the Pro is that tiny little extra bit of sustained performance. In short bursts, the MacBook Air is absolutely the way to go. And you can save money and get indistinguishable performance. So I think that people have definitely been running with the thermal throttling as like a negative thing. And I think the term thermal throttle has come to be like a criticism, but it's really not. It's just a behavior of the system. And so if you can stop the system from behaving that way, maybe that's an improvement, but the system is designed to do that. So it's not saying that it's a flaw. That's intentional.
So I feel like this is a perspective thing. I think we're looking at this wrong. Like, okay, so my issue is, and the reason why I side more with Sam is because the bigger picture, the MacBook Air is still the MacBook Air, especially, you know, when you go towards the base model. Like, the demographic for this machine hasn't necessarily changed in my mind. And just because it can do more doesn't mean that's what it's supposed to do, if that makes sense. And I think that...
I think that's kind of elitist.
Well, no, hang on. I'm saying instead of thinking of this as it can do more, these are now my expectations, why is it throttling up here? We should be looking at it as, wow, they really overpowered this base machine. Like, considering perspective, it should be, wow, this is really powerful for the entry-level machine. But instead, we're expecting the entry-level machine just because it can do this, and it is a little overpowered. Like, compared to especially MacBook Air Intel just a few years ago, this thing is wildly overpowered. Like, it is ridiculous. And instead of looking at it like that, just because it can do those things, now us in the tech demographic, or especially like, you know, the YouTubers or the people that are really heavy into this, just because it can do more, now we are adjusting our expectations and being upset that it's not doing what we want it to do. And I feel like that's unfair to place onto this machine and onto the general demographic that's going to use this.
I mean, I should first clarify that I didn't in any way, in any of my coverage at least, I can't speak for other people, I didn't say, oh man, that sucks, the MacBook Air is bad because it thermal throttles. That's not a criticism of the MacBook. It's just a fact about it. Like, if I'm going to cover the MacBook Air... But
do you see how it's coming off as like do you see how it's coming off as like that's the biggest thing people are talking about? At least in this tech space. So it paints the picture, if we participate in that, it paints the picture that it's flawed and this is a major issue.
That's my argument, John. Like, I think that's the crux of my argument.
there is some degree of I do get what you mean, and I think you're right. But I don't think that I think that is some area where certain people in the audience are sort of coming to their conclusions independent of the videos that they're watching. Like, yeah, talking about thermal throttling definitely brings it to the forefront. But as I was saying, like, if it's a machine that is now capable, I want to test its capabilities. So if that includes thermal throttling, then so be it. But as I said in my video, you're only going to encounter that thermal throttling in long-term applications. And if you want to use the MacBook Air for that because it can do these types of things now, then that's something that you should know. Personally, I think I never really said that the thermal throttling is a big deal. I don't really think it is. I do think the SSD thing is frustrating because I know that Sam doesn't think it matters.
But that's not true.
The SSD thing?
Yeah, may I? Well, you can finish, but I do have something to say about that.
I mean, I was a little on the fence about the SSD thing with the MacBook Pro, just because I don't know. I think you're right, Sam, that that was the only, like, apart from it being boring, that was the only controversy for the MacBook Pro, so it got a lot of attention. But having thought about it, having also tested with the MacBook Air, I do think that there are valid arguments to be made with it. For example, that in my testing, I did a 10-minute Final Cut Pro render, right? And that's with like 4K footage. Lots of 4K video editors use MacBook Airs. That is just, it's becoming pretty common. And It actually doesn't thermal throttle
but-
in that situation.
But
But what?
so you're like, what?
Well, because I wasn't talking about thermal throttling, because I just said that it doesn't actually. So if you're doing video editing on the MacBook Air, like, yeah, if you throw 8K at it, you can get it to thermal throttle, but nobody's doing that, so it's not really.
So you made a mention
relevant.
that like you're like a lot of 4K video editors are using MacBook Air. Okay, but that's not
Yes.
necessarily because MacBook Air. That's a budgetary constraint on a lot of these people, and
Right.
but also, again, they are now able to fit that into their budget because it is wildly more overpowered than it used to be. And so I think
Right.
that's the correct perspective. I don't understand, like, I don't know why Sam has looped you in. I think I missed that. Sam, why? I mean, I get the whole the issue with the internet making this a big deal. Did Luke do this too?
No. Well, it was just the video that I saw from Luke today, that can we fix the MacBook Air thermal throttling, where I was like, I get it, because it's like, that's a cool video for your audience. But just seeing that, I was like, oh,
Sam,
'Cause, like-
I'm going to be honest, you're acting a little bit like a hall monitor.
yes. No,
I mean,
care
look.
too much.
To some degree, tech YouTube has to. I think to some degree, a lot of the manufactured controversy, if you will, stems from the fact that tech is broadly very good, and so when tech is broadly very good, it's not as interesting to just say, "Here's the new MacBook Air. It's very well designed and well made, and it's a good computer, and you should buy it." Like, that might be true, but to a certain degree, when technology is really good, I think it's fair to be more critical of it, because isn't that the point, right? Isn't the point to like improve things? So when things improve, you should say, okay, here's what's next. I mean, I'm not saying that you should completely distract from everything else. And as I mentioned earlier, like in all of my videos, I was like, yeah, the MacBook Air is very good. And also, I'm talking to a more tech-informed audience. 95% of the people that are going to buy a MacBook Air don't even watch tech YouTube. So we're not really making videos for them. You're making videos for the tech side of things. I mean, we all made videos talking about the iPhone SE for a whole while, but most iPhone SE customers aren't going to be even near tech YouTube. So like, to some degree, there's overlapping different audiences. There's what I mentioned about like when tech gets good, you kind of have to be more critical, so that, because otherwise, you know what, it just stays the same forever and everyone's just like, we're all happy, everything's fine here. Like, no, you want to try to push it and keep things improving.
Okay. Let me share my thoughts on this, because yes, I do feel like a hall monitor. First,
You're dressed like a hall monitor.
I would be the coolest hall monitor ever if I was dressed like this. I just, there's a problem with tech YouTube, and it is not trending in a good, sustainable direction, because the direction that it's going in, thank you for the zoom.
You're welcome.
The direction it's
zoom
going
is
in
good.
is more and more criticism as you are a good YouTuber. And
That has been an issue. I agree. That has been an issue.
yeah, and
It's
this is something Renee Ritchie has talked about, where it's like cynicism equals intelligence. He has a quote that he's shared that I can't
it's
remember,
like, okay. And I made a video like years ago called "The Tech Community is a Dumpster Fire," and this was a point in the video. It's that cynicism is looked at in this community as honesty. Like, you're not being honest unless you're being negative, and that's a side effect of this. I don't even know, just the culture of needing clicks, or I feel like it's been that way though.
Yeah, it's not entirely new. It's just with this cycle, it became very concrete, because like I think the reason I'm so frustrated about it this time is that honestly speaking, I did not spend a ton of time with the M2 MacBook Pro. Like I probably spent the least amount of time with that computer of any product I've ever spent. And I was just like, yeah, it's basically the same. And then all this stuff came out about the SSD, which I do want to touch on this. The SSD is not something that I'm cool with. I don't think Apple should have done it. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't agree with it. Like I strongly disagree that Apple made the base SSD slower when they seemingly could have made it just as fast, by maybe spending more money, whatever the reason would be, how they achieve it. I know they could do it. They're Apple. My point is that, and this is my through line, which is sort of what I want to make my video about tomorrow, which is I've spent 3 days straight only using the M2 MacBook Air, and I haven't been pushing it for video editing or doing benchmarks on it because that's not how you use a computer. Like I think my fundamental problem. Sorry, I shouldn't say problem. I think my fundamental frustration is that as soon as we get these computers, we're just like, let's benchmark the hell out of them. Bro, after 4 times on Apple's entry-level laptop, it started to throttle and slow down. Just know that, man. And I guess to me, I'm like, fucking of course it did. It's the base M2 laptop. But the title of the video is how to fix thermal throttling, which I'm like, this isn't an issue unless you make it one. Like the M2 MacBook Air is not for us. It is not for any of us on this website making videos. The M1 Pro and Max MacBook Pros are. So when I'm seeing video after video after video, just pushing the MacBook Air, this is not, I don't want to show your channel because this is not exactly.
I mean, you did directly reference the title of his video.
Yeah.
There was another YouTuber that made a video a few hours earlier than him today.
Okay.
That we may or may not have had on the show that are wonderful people, but I do believe are continuing to contribute to this problem. Where the M2 MacBook Air is going to be an incredible product, even the base model, for nearly every single person that buys it, unless you care and you watch tech YouTube. In which a bunch of creators have been like, hey, there are these things. Now, listen, I want to be very clear here. The SSD, not cool. Yeah, the fact that like it does thermal throttle is something to know. I'm not being a hall monitor in the sense that these shouldn't be discussion points or these shouldn't be topics, right? I feel like the way Dave 2D does it is just perfect. Like he makes a video and is like, hey, this is the experience of using it. Hey, you should know, like, yeah, after a few runs, like it definitely started throttling a little bit, like be aware of that. And then we move on where, like you said, Luke, tech is becoming so boring that I think I'm just bothered that the story of the M2 MacBook Air is the SSD and thermal throttling and not how it's a great device.
I have something
like
to say.
I feel like that's broadly the sentiment in the community. And to me, that's not accurate.
I had something to say. So I think that this is another issue of perspective, because I lean towards, in the overarching bigger picture, I lean towards exactly what you're saying, Sam. I agree with you. I think that's clear in what I said about the perspective of the machine, and like we should be looking at this as if it's widely overpowered, and that just because it can do more, we should just appreciate that it does that much instead of criticizing it for not doing enough. And so I agree
did
with
say
you.
exactly that in my video, I should point out.
Well, I agree with that.
Like that was the perspective. I said that for 90% of people, it's overpowered, but for the people that do want it,
yeah,
you can have it.
I think that this is another issue of perspective. I think that it's not like all of these videos, some of them, I will say, but it's not like all of these videos are labeled as reviews and then saying, hey, the review is this sucks because it's thermal throttled. Like, we're sort of saying the quiet part out loud right now. This is made. Our tech demographic is very focused on different things. And we keep saying that the average consumer, the people buying this machine, the usual demographic buying this MacBook Air is not on tech YouTube, which I agree with. But the tech YouTubers are making videos for tech YouTube. And I think the perspective is the community right now is upset about this. Well, I think it's wrong to be upset about this, but if a large number of people in this community and in our demographic are harboring and you're worried about this MacBook Air throttling, then it makes sense that other YouTubers are like, okay, hey, here's how to fix it. Like, we're making videos for our demographic, not necessarily trying to tell the mass market, hey, this is a messed up machine because it thermal throttles, because as we keep saying, they aren't watching this. So we're sort of like, we're trying to defend those people, but then in the same breath, we're saying, hey, we aren't, they aren't watching us. So we can't be like, hey, this is messed up to tell the average consumer, but then also be like, also the average consumer isn't watching this.
I agree.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying earlier.
I want to be clear, Luke. Like, I think you make great videos, man. I love them. I thought your throttling video
okay,
was awesome.
hang on. I have to be responsible. I have to be responsible. We are going to cut to our first ad. I've given the audience 30 minutes of uninterrupted, unadulterated content. We're going to cut to our first ad, and then we'll come back.
Good value.
Yeah, good value. We'll cut to the first ad, and then we'll come back. Hey, Sam, I have stuff that I need to send out. Do you know any services that I could use where I don't have to take my stuff to the post office to send it out? Because that would be a real pain.
Stamps.com, John. With our next Genius drop just around the corner, there's nobody else that we're going to ship our stuff out because they do international shipping, they do domestic shipping. And John, most important, these discounts you will not find anywhere else, like up to 30% off USPS rates and up to 86% off UPS rates. Are you kidding me?
That's crazy. So not only do you save your time, you don't have to leave, you don't have to like go see people, but you also save money. Like, it makes more sense to use Stamps.com.
Yeah, I'm not walking into the post office with, well, I almost spoiled the drop, but 150 of what we're going to be shipping out is very exciting. I'm going to be using Stamps.com because they're giving me the best rates, and then they can even pick it up in some cases. I can just drop it off. It's amazing.
And they give you a 4-week free trial, free postage, and a free scale. All you have to do is go to Stamps.com and use code GENIUS.
Bro, sign up with mandatory code GENIUS for a special offer that includes all that, the 4-week trial, plus the free postage and a digital scale with no long-term commitments or contracts at Stamps.com. Click the microphone at the top of the page, enter code GENIUS, and we'll see you there.
Thank you, Stamps.
No, Luke, I wanted to say, there isn't a but after this. It's not like you do great, but no, like the thermal throttling video is super cool. Like, to fix it, I think it's just like a personal frustration just with these two launches back to back of like only seeing negative videos. Like, I have not seen, I'm just going to say it, I have not seen you or Max Tech be like, this computer is awesome in a video title.
I did say, okay, maybe not in the title, but
I
that
know
was
that's
basically
not how YouTube works because, but, do you see what the point I'm making is this is unsustainable. If every release has these issues, then the only people that will continue to get views, and those views will shrink and shrink as people lose interest over time, is more and more negativity and cynicism and problems and like hyper focusing on these specific niche situations. So it's sort of like, I don't think it's going to have a good effect on the tech YouTube space as a whole if we continue to fixate on these, like, honestly, just like edge scenarios. I mean, I made a joke in a video that it's not going to go up, but I was like, Apple lied about the M2 MacBook Air. It's not a laptop. I ripped the screen off from the body. Isn't that technically a desktop? It's like, I can make it whatever you want. I can stress test my MacBook however I want. And I love watching the videos. I loved watching how to fix my MacBook thermal throttling. I think that's so interesting. I just think we need a better balance. I think that's what I'm asking for. Just like a better balance to fairly illustrate the product rather than only focusing on the weird, interesting stuff. But I also get it because I'm a YouTuber and I want views. So I understand leaning into those quirky, weird.
I mean,
making
Sam,
a video titled, I learned how to make the MacBook thermal throttle, here's how to fix it, is going to get more views than I love the M2 MacBook Air. Okay, cool. Me too. Next. Like,
perfect example. What are you going to suggest we title the episode of the show?
Man, you're putting me on the spot. It takes me a while to come to these houses. Something dramatic.
Exactly.
But
He took a moment there.
This episode has been dramatic.
Okay, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it really
But aren't
has
all
been.
the titles dramatic?
Yeah, Luke, okay, you have the floor. I will not let Sam interrupt you.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
No. I'm not gonna. I can handle myself. Please, Luke.
No,
Respond.
I mean,
want to hear you.
look.
I love you, and you're my best friend.
Excuse me.
Here's what it comes down to.
Second best friend.
Damn. John is absolutely
Equal best friend.
irate here.
Yikes.
Yay.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean, I don't disagree. I think that I don't know. I have stopped in my videos having overt discussions of things in like a negative light. Like I don't really say like this is bad or like that's not good, or at least I try not to. You know, I'm sure that I slip a few times, or if something genuinely is unacceptable, then you know we'll say that. But for the most part, I think a lot of the negativity comes from, you know, there's some degree of like you got to sensationalize your headlines. We all do it, right? We're all in the tech YouTube space, and to be quite honest, that has been the direction for the past 3 or 4 years. None of us would be where we are right now without sensationalizing headlines, right? That's just, you know, I'm under fire now because I tried to fix the thermal throttling, but you could turn it around and look at. There was controversy like a couple of months ago for 800,000 iPhone 14 videos that you guys all make. So it's like, you know, it's a cyclical thing where people get upset with the state of tech YouTube. And I think it's all, you know, regardless of what is causing it, I think the thing that a lot of tech YouTubers are dealing with is sort of waning interest. It seems like, I don't know if you guys have this perspective, but to me at least, it does seem like our niche is fairly saturated, very busy, but at the same time, it kind of feels like we're all fighting for scraps. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I completely agree with what you're saying. I agree with everything you've said in the past couple minutes, by the way.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, like, do you know what I mean? I think that a lot of this negativity that has been churned up, which I definitely agree with, and I think it was more so with the M2 MacBook Pro, people getting upset about the thing that they were never ever going to buy. Where I made 2 videos on the MacBook Pro. Let me see, what did I do? Yeah, so I had a video, how fast is M2 compared to M1? Because I think it's perfectly valid to talk about the performance of the M2 MacBook Pro, considering that's literally the only thing that's different. So that's the only thing to talk about. And then I compared it to the 14-inch MacBook Pro. And then I did my upgrade M1 to an M2 video. But that one, I don't think that really caused a controversy. That was just sort of like a, hey, look at this fun, weird, wacky experiment for purely entertainment purposes. So my impression was, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. I'm sorry.
My impression was just for the M1, the M2 MacBook Pro, the only real, there was a controversy about heat. I thought that was kind of silly because it was like 8K and like crazy stuff that isn't really realistic for an M2 MacBook Pro. Like if it's the Mac Studio, yeah, that's fair. But the M2 MacBook Pro getting hot when it's doing 8K, well, you're not doing 8K on an M2 MacBook Pro, so that's kind of silly. And then the only other thing was the SSD. But I think the SSD is more relevant now with the MacBook Air because it's a better product. And so it's a bummer to see the SSD kind of detract from that, even if it's something that you can overlook. But it is worth noting that in pretty normal workloads, that slower SSD does make a difference. So I think that's a pretty fair criticism for the Air.
Yeah. Luke, all the criticism is fair. I want to see everybody's videos. I love watching stress tests of video editing because that's what I do.
Well, isn't that what it is then? It's people are making the videos that appeal to what their audience wants to see.
Yes, because the audience, and I love you guys, but you want to hear what you want to hear. Do you guys know what I'm talking about as fellow YouTubers?
Confirmation bias.
I do.
Yes.
Yes.
The audience wants to hear, oh, I wasn't going to buy that anyway. I knew I was right. I knew that MacBook sucked. It's an ego thing. This is a normal human thing. I feel like the perfect example is like crazy Gucci designs, right? Like it's funny to laugh, be like, $1,000 ugly. I would never buy that because I don't need to buy that to be cool. It's like nobody said you did, but like somebody out there designed that and thought it had a purpose. It's the same thing in tech where we like to feel good because it's something we're passionate about. And I'm saying this with love because I've been there and I probably am there in a lot of ways. And that's probably why I'm having this reaction about the MacBook Air is because I love it so much and I've had an incredible experience on the base model that it kills me to see everyone be like, don't buy the base model, Apple tricked you. And I'm like, nobody tricked me. Yeah, you should know the SSD is going to be slower. Yeah, you should know that under some workloads, it could slow down. But hey, if you're buying the M2 MacBook Air, like this is Apple's entry-level model. If you want more power, then yeah, you go up to the MacBook Pro, which is the best computer they've ever made and everyone agrees. So I think it's even hurting people in the tech space and turning them away from products because we're stress testing so much rather than just being like, hey, I'm going to spend a week with this MacBook Air, really take time with it, not benchmark it, just use it. And then it's like, oh, well, let's see some other comparisons and tests. That's where I'm coming from. That we have confirmation bias, like you said. Like we want to be, of course, like it's a fanless machine. What do fanless machines struggle with? Fanless machines struggle with heat. Oh, we should test the MacBook Air and see if it struggles with heat management. People are going to be interested in that. Interesting video. Oh, hey, it struggles with heat.
I would argue that I think there's a bit more that goes into it than that. I think that a lot of the creators are not necessarily like, the way that you phrase it kind of makes it sound like people are like looking at this opportunity to find a problem. But my impression some people are. I'm not disagreeing with that. But my impression of like, I don't think you are. Well, no, not just me. I think Max Tech too. I think that a lot of it is not necessarily like, ooh, let's find the problem and talk about how bad it is, but it's testing the limits. Because we know that now that the MacBook Air has Apple Silicon and everyone goes, oh my God, this thing is crazy powerful. What is the limit of the power? And so that was the purpose of what I was trying to find was like, okay, if you are trying to get a powerful machine on a budget, you are probably interested in knowing what you can and cannot do on this machine. So I get that like the typical daily use case is not, running benchmarks back to back, or in my extreme example, I ran Cinebench on my roof in the sun and I was like, let's just absolutely pound this thing to the ground, worst case scenario. And I said, like, no one's going to do this. This is not, I was thermal throttling out in the heat. I don't blame it at all. But it's a matter of finding the limits of what something can do. And that is important if maybe it's not the whole story. And I definitely agree that people tend to see those things and fixate on that instead of looking at the bigger picture of like, hey, this is a thin and light machine. And you can also do video editing on it. Like that's the whole angle that I take is like, you know, you can buy the base model MacBook Air, or probably not the base model, just because 256 gigabytes of storage, if you're a video editor, is like a thimble. So maybe a little more than the base model. But like, if you're a video editor, maybe Apple wants you to think that you need a 14-inch or a 16-inch MacBook Pro, but you probably don't. You're probably going to be more than fine with the MacBook Air. So I think that's worth talking about.
That? I feel like nobody.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was doing, Sam.
But
that's what I'm doing, Sam. I'm saying, like, if you want to use this for video editing, then I got to test if it's capable of it, right?
Yeah,
I can't say, hey, you don't need a 14-inch MacBook Pro. You only need a MacBook Air, and then not show you how the MacBook Air does.
No,
you have to talk about that.
I'm just like, nobody's making a video being like, the M2 MacBook Air. I'm trying to think of like a clickbait title for it being good at video editing. Like, I ditched my 16-inch MacBook Pro for the M2 MacBook Air. I feel like that would be a fair title that's still sensational. It's like, oh, why did he leave it? It's like, well, I found that I can do a lot of video editing on here rather than how to fix thermal throttle. I'm really just hammering the point on that one.
Bro, you can't get over the thermal throttling. First of all, there's nothing negative in that video. Like, there was no criticism of the MacBook Air in that video. I was just making the point that
I had to check and make sure Sam watched it. He did.
Oh, good. Look at him.
I did
watch all the.
I did not watch it.
Oh.
I watched your conclusions in which you were like, I should have used like a millimeter less thick, or you said you should have used thinner paper because it kind of made it hard to. The thermal paper, you said you needed like a less thick one, right?
Yeah. So I used a 1.5 millimeter thermal pad, and it's a tight fit. I wouldn't keep it on like that. But like, I don't know. It's niche content, right? It's not going to be the broadest possible review, because I think another point, not just talking about this, but like very broadly in tech nowadays, is if you want to make a MacBook Air review, it's probably going to eat shit. Like, straight up. If I were to make a comprehensive review of the MacBook Air, where I, talk about its webcam and speakers and microphones and the screen and like all that stuff, which I sprinkle in there. But if that's all I did, it's not getting any views, because there are 3 or 4 YouTubers. Marquez makes a video, it instantly is at 2 million views. If you want your baselines covered, there's a couple of YouTubers at the top that will give you that and are really, really freaking good at it. So if you're someone like me, you need to have a different angle. And I agree with you. I regret that this cycle has been a negative angle, I think, from a lot of people. I certainly wasn't intentionally trying to be negative, but I think you're right that it has had that effect. But I don't necessarily think that it's an intentional thing. I think it's people's attempt to try and stand out and make something that's not another generic review. Because let's be honest, right? Like, how many times do you need to watch someone say, hey, the MacBook Air is good, and it's really light, and it's thin, and they brought back MagSafe, so that's pretty cool. Like, you don't need to see that over and over again. It's not necessary. You saw Marquez's video. He covered all of that stuff, and it was concise and well put together. You only need to see that once. But if you want to dive deeper, if you want to say, hey, I would like to do more with this, or hey, I want to see how this fits my use case or something else, then that's where other YouTubers come in.
Yeah.
Are you pleased with this answer?
I just have one last question.
Okay. What is the question?
Why the fuck are we running Blender on a base M2 MacBook Air?
I
Do you
mean,
realize
Ian,
how much power 3D
our own boy Ian used an M1 MacBook Pro for the longest time.
And he just texted me and said, I don't think I can use a Mac anymore for 3D rendering because it's just not enough power.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I guess illustrating.
And that's the top.
like
He can't utilize the top end of what Apple offers with Apple.
Okay,
Silicon.
Sorry, I should rephrase what I said. I think it's cool that there's a Blender test to see what can happen. And I don't think you set expectations. Maybe it's not even the creator's fault. Maybe we should just blame all the audience. Like the audience is going to see the Blender test and be like, oh, it can't even run Blender. And it's like, yeah, of course it can't run. Do you realize what 3D modeling, do you realize how much graphics power you need for that, bro? A 3090 is barely enough.
I mean, yeah, I definitely,
I'm just a big grumpy pants. I'm a big grumpy pants today.
You are definitely a grumpy pants. I mean, that's one of the things that I've been doing on my channel was I noticed that people, like whenever I was doing reviews in the past, I had a billion comments that are like, can you run this? Can you run this? What does it do in this? And even now, like I have a massive suite of things that I run. And sure, they might not all be a practical use case for that particular thing, but I just run a whole bunch of stuff on everything, right? I run the same tests on the Mac Studio and the MacBook Air. And I don't know, you can have an issue with that if you don't think the MacBook Air is, I guess, designed for that. But the reason that I do those tests is because I always get comments that are like, oh, you should have tested this. I wanted to see what it did. Not necessarily, I'm not trying to like feed outrage by running a Blender test. I don't ever say like, oh, that's slow. I'm just comparing the two to see what happens. And maybe it's not a practical application, but it can show you some pretty interesting things. Like when I did the Blender test on the base model versus the higher end MacBook Pro, what I found was with this running it on the CPU, right? It's the same CPU, but the higher end MacBook Air is like 2 minutes faster, like a significant, like 30% faster with the same CPU because of the SSD, because certain tasks start using swap memory and then your SSD is kind of your RAM. So at that point, it becomes pretty relevant for the SSD to feed into the whole system. So it's not just a benchmark of like, if you want to do Blender on a MacBook Air, this is for you. It's more just seeing how the system performs in many different ways, because you're not always going to get the picture from one specific thing.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. Maybe I've been too hard on you and others in the community.
50 minutes in is when he decides that.
No, I mean, listen, I think a lot of my points are valid.
They are.
They are. Absolutely.
I think almost all my points are valid. And I also, it's come full circle that like, you're right, the audience does care about these things and they want to see it.
Well, and it's these particular audiences. I think you have to also remember what John was saying, where like, if I'm going to make a video talking to the 90% of people that will buy the MacBook Air, they're not going to see it.
Unless you post it on Facebook.
They don't watch tech YouTube. Like that's the other thing you have to keep in mind. It's like, maybe tech YouTube doesn't line up with this product. Maybe that's like the problem.
A really good example is like one of my friends who does not follow this stuff reached out to me like, I don't know, just a few weeks ago and was like, hey man, did you see what the new watch is going to look like? Didn't even know that I'm the one that leaked it. Like that's how disconnected They
That's
are, you know, they were
amazing.
like, hey, like they were just trying to start a conversation with me because they know I like tech stuff. Like, hey, man, I just, you know, I saw on like, I don't know, fucking Forbes what the new watch is going to look like. Are you excited? And it's just like, that's how disconnected that crowd is from this.
Yeah.
So do you see, going back to my argument, how if the majority of content that people that do our jobs are posting when referencing a product have titles and content pushing things to their limits, or, you know, things that the majority of us here do, but when it reaches the broader mainstream, like I could just see somebody like watching videos about the M2 MacBook Air that might be wanting to get into tech. And it's like, oh, we're testing the SSD speeds, and then we've got to learn about RAM swap in SSD. It's like, yeah, that's an important conversation for people in the tech community. I still don't think the SSD is going to impact the majority of people. Like y'all have to realize, this is speaking to the audience, not you guys. Like people like my friends and mom and dad buy the M2 MacBook Air, not us. People that care are going to get the MacBook.
But your
Pro
friends and your mom and dad, they all have a roof.
Bro, but
They used to
that's
have a
what I'm
roof.
saying.
Yeah, they
That's
all
the
have
whole
a roof.
point. They do have a roof and the sun shines there.
That's
But
what
bro,
I'm saying.
That's literally what I'm saying. It's like, okay, this stuff doesn't make it to the mainstream, Sam. The mainstream review, I just pulled this up here, CNET or CNN, whatever, same thing. 8 hours ago. 8 hours ago, the MacBook Air M2 is the Apple laptop I've been waiting for. And they talk about, you know, all of the stuff that like the mainstream people, and even this, I'm not going to lie. Most of the people that I know that are not tech people wouldn't even get this in depth into reading a laptop review. The videos aren't for the mainstream. They're not informing mainstream opinions of the MacBook, because most people, their only opinion of the MacBook is, oh, I saw a picture of it, it's pretty. So
That is true, by the way.
Tech YouTube
It is pretty.
has no role to play in that. It's the same thing with iPhones. On Tech YouTube, the videos are all about like these really nitty-gritty camera comparisons, right? Where they're like, oh, look at the way that the AI handles the blur around this person's hair versus this person's hair. Do you think normal people care about that? Not in the slightest. But that's mainstream enough. That goes on Marquez's channel. Camera comparisons, those are all over the place. So I don't really, to be quite honest, see a difference or a problem with being more in depth on Tech YouTube, because that's what people are on Tech YouTube for. And yeah, that might not be the target audience for the MacBook Air, but that's the target audience for the audience.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. We're talking in circles at this point. I'll close my final closing statement.
Okay. Are you happy with the discussion, Sam? Are you pleased?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
Well, I loved it. I mean, Luke's a great human.
No, but I
Makes
mean,
great
are you
videos, so-
satisfied with? Because you came in here hot. You came in here upset.
Yeah, I still feel upset. Like, I think that's like I'm still like I'm still upset that basically the M2 MacBook Air is ruined on Tech YouTube.
Well, that's
I
a
don't
think
rough
that's
thing
the
to
case.
say.
First of all, I would just say that if I've gone through my comments a lot, and I do not see a lot of criticism of the MacBook Air.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe
it was
my audience
understanding-
tends to be.
It was my understanding that people love it. That people understand it's a great machine.
Yeah, I don't know. I have not seen really any negative sentiment. I've
And
seen
all of
some
Luke's
people that
audience
are-
wears like button-up shirts and is proper and. They don't have
I've
anything
seen
bad
a
to
few
say.
people that have, like, the extent of negativity that I've seen in my comments was essentially people going, "Oh, I was definitely, I wanted to see if I could use this instead of a 14-inch MacBook Pro, but now I see that I do need that extra power, so I'm going to go for the 14-inch. That's the extent of the negativity that I've seen. And I think that's a valid thing. If a new laptop comes out and you think, hey, well, that one says M1, this one says M2, is it better? Oh, wait, it's not. Okay, that's okay. I need the power. I'll go somewhere else. I think that's a valid thing to be looking for.
Yeah. Maybe I just got heated off of like a few too many comments and tweets. John's face, he's like,
well, dude, I mean, I think your first mistake was seeing tweets and making conclusions about the creators that inform those tweets, because I think there is a very big disconnect. I think you're right about a very vocal group of people that love to, in a very vindictive way, take aspects of a piece of tech and make that the only story. And I don't necessarily think that is because of, like, it's hard to blame, like, in the Max Tech situation, right? I think they've honestly gotten more hate than they deserved, because they were just trying to make a video pointing out that the M2 MacBook, like in the MacBook Pro situation, they're like, it gets hot and the SSD is slow. Now, do I think they made maybe a few too many videos talking about that? Probably. They kind of went a little nuts on that. But
they went nuts on it because it worked and it caused a reaction, which is that's a side effect of
but
this
the
stuff.
reaction was sort of out of I think the reaction sort of gets away from the intent of the creator. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Like, it's Max Tech. Yes. They freaking love Apple.
Yes. I would argue they also love when Apple products have problems, and then they can
I think that's a fair argument.
Discuss. I don't want to say anything too Hey, listen. I made a video about iPadOS.
Max Tech is gonna come back on the show next week. We have, because now Sam keeps digging holes that I have to fill.
I'm not saying that in a malicious way. I'm saying if you make 7 to 9 videos about a product that nobody was supposed to care about because they perform well, and the general consensus of everybody is like, haha, bad computer. I'm just saying that's very convenient. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying anybody has to agree. And I want to make it, just in case this hasn't been clear, and people that probably already are mad at me haven't made it this far in the episode, but for those of you that are still here, I love Max Tech videos. I love watching them. I love Luke Miani videos. I love seeing that there's this cool paper thing I can stuff inside my MacBook to maybe make it perform better under heavy workload. Like, that is so cool. And I love that. I love watching it. I also love videos that talk about
here comes the
how
butt.
good the machine is too. But maybe that's implied, and maybe my expectation for that to be present. I'm not asking like for a both sides, like 50-50, one good video, one bad video.
You said that you recorded a couple of videos today that you might can.
Yeah, I recorded 2 takes of the same video about the situation. I think I want to record another one after. I think I'm going to record another one tonight. That'll be the actual one that goes up. Just because I want to get my thoughts
just upload
right,
this.
and I don't.
Yeah, and look, Sam, I think when it comes down to it, I think we're both right in the sense that I think maybe part of your frustration is this audience crossover,
maybe
where like my audience, I have a lot of videos that are like DIY or like doing mods or, you know, refurbishment, fixing up something old, or, you know, that sort of style of video. That is what my audience wants. So if I make a video that is more in the vein of a CNET review, my audience is like, what is this? Where's the information that we came here to see? And so I think that it comes down to a difference in audience. Like, maybe your audience doesn't want to see benchmarks on the M2 MacBook Air, but my audience does. So I think a lot of your frustration is coming from when the push it as hard as it can go audience tries to tell the I just want a nice, pretty laptop audience that their thing is bad because maybe it doesn't work for them. It's the same thing. We've all been on the Apple side of the Apple versus PC debate, where people come in and they start saying, "Oh, well, you can't run Steam games on the Apple." And we're like, yeah, that might be true, but we don't care about that. That's not why you're buying this computer. So I think it's like a similar thing, right? Like the PC people that say, "Oh, well, the Mac can't run Windows games," they're not wrong. What's annoying is that they're trying to force their opinion on to you. So I think what you're annoyed at is not the fact that the MacBook Air thermal throttles, but it's the fact that you have people telling you that matters when it doesn't to you.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yay, we did it. Luke Miani, everybody. What a gentleman.
Can you just put this on my screen one more time?
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, your screen.
So, I have
fuck. Okay.
I have a closing
what?
argument.
No.
I have a closing argument, and this is coming to you from love, and I get the YouTube game, but this was literally the first 4 seconds of your video.
Wait, hang on.
So it's no secret at this point that the new M2 MacBook Airs have a little bit of a thermal problem.
They don't! Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Wait, were you not listening to what Luke was saying, and you were like going through his video to get another point, or did you hear all the things that he just said?
I heard all the things. I just wanted to close the meme. He's making that for his audience.
Because he just talked a bunch, and then you went, yeah. Also, I want you to watch the first 4 seconds of this video.
No, Luke, you're right. My audience doesn't care. I, as a person, don't care. Your audience is super into it, and you deserve. And I'm not trying to tell anybody how to make their content.
I mean, it sounded like Luke was just responding to like the sentiment.
Yeah.
And I would apologize to you, Sam, for I think
no, you don't have to apologize.
No. But I think something that a lot of tech YouTubers do, all of us in the space, is we kind of get wrapped up in what our audience thinks. So we all look through our own comment section and we kind of take. I think it impacts us more than we might consciously be aware of. And so when I'm, reading through comments and people are, because the people in my audience tend to be more power users. And so when I see people saying like,
just say it.
Darn,
your audience is smarter, Luke. You can say it.
Not smarter necessarily. I mean, you can be very smart and not even remotely go near Blender or Final Cut Pro. But
my audience is smart. Cut to him on the roof, putting sunlight on the MacBook Air.
Bro, my audience tends to care about that stuff more. And so I tend to therefore care about it more because that's the reaction that I see. So I think perspective is good. And, I've been in my room looking at my own comments, making videos for 3 days straight. And I definitely think that, at least in that introduction there, I definitely lost sight of maybe some of the broader perspective, or maybe I should have clarified, like, it's no secret that there is a controversy that if you do want to do this on a MacBook Air, you can run into thermal limitations or some qualifiers like that. But yeah.
But we also know that saying the MacBook Air has a thermal throttling problem, I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna keep watching. Yeah. Or if you're like, bro, I do the same thing. I do the same thing with my iPhone 14 videos. Although, like, I'm genuinely, I don't know. I feel like most of my videos are pretty. I feel like everybody's videos are genuine because it's just what you care about. You're like, I want to see if this thermal throttles and if I can fix it. Like, that was the thesis of your video, and you did it. And I'm like, I want to see if the iPhone 14 has satellite connectivity. And I think our audience is, as much as we joke that they are the same, I feel like they're
actually very different.
I would say, like, if we're looking at median income from like lowest to highest, like John's audience probably gets like 2 Olive Garden breadsticks a week. My audience is like maybe like a nicer Italian restaurant, and Luke's is like a fancy steakhouse. Like that's where everybody's eating.
I don't know about that actually. I think my audience.
Bro, I don't know.
The
way they talk about John on your podcast.
I know they are
Okay,
they
maybe,
are above me and my bullshit.
There probably are some.
I don't think I could ever come on dark mode ever again. Like they are. I thought Reddit was the anti-John Prosser place until I got on dark mode. Their intellect is just above it. They can't handle it, and they will not play this. They will not play my reindeer games.
It's
an
interesting
it's time for another ad.
Oh, true. Got to get that in there.
I've been putting them in there. It's fine.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Like, I know you had been telling me this forever, but I've been upping my HelloFresh orders, and I've never been so happy. Like, John, I
tried to tell you, man.
I'm not a cook. No one would call me a chef except my mother, and even that's kind of a reach.
But you can't mess up a HelloFresh meal. You just can't. The instructions are perfect. The ingredients are the perfect exact amount. You don't have extras. You don't have crazy leftovers that you know you're not going to eat. You're going to end up throwing away anyway. HelloFresh.com/Genius16. Not only do you get the meals, but if you use our code, our URL, you get up to 16 free meals plus 3 free gifts from them.
Bro, recipes like hibachi, sweet soy, bavette steak, and shrimp. Oh my God. I was losing my mind. I had this teriyaki sauce one time. I have these carrots, and we've talked about the produce. It's so good. It's guys know
actually fresh. Like for some reason, the ingredients here taste way better than you will get at like a regular grocery store. I don't know. I think it's witchcraft. It's magic.
Bro, okay. We can talk about this all day, or you can just start eating the best food of your life right now when you go to HelloFresh.com/Genius16. Use code Genius16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Guys, it's HelloFresh. And now we're going to say hello back to the show.
Thank you, HelloFresh.
You guys do the rest of the show. I've had my time. I got everybody riled up. I've contributed to the controversy by talking about it. I'm a bad guy too. We're all in the trenches with our homies.
Can I take control of the conversation for a second?
You may.
Kind of
hang on. Let me change the order, right? Because now you're in charge. Okay, you can be on my side.
There we go. Now I'm on the Sam's always
Sam.
all the way
himself.
to the right.
For audio listeners, he just
Sam
started talking and he's muted. So
okay. I wanted to get a little existential with you boys.
Oh no, I can't.
I'm
on
muting for this.
Look. I want to talk about the state of tech YouTube. I don't want to talk about negativity or toxicity or all that stuff, right? We're done with that. We've talked about that. Do you guys think that the tech community can last? Do you guys see your channels continuing to grow and gain, or do you think we're at an inflection point where tech as a space on YouTube is entering decline?
No.
What,
you don't?
No to what? I'm sorry.
No to the whole statement.
Sorry, which is that you can't continue and that you won't have a channel?
No, I disagree. No, as in I disagree with everything Luke is saying. Okay, Luke, how old is your channel?
7 years.
Okay, so it's like it's about the same. I've been doing it for 10 years, but that's 7, 10, it's close enough. I feel like this is like I am not worried about it dying out and not growing because as times change, Front Page Tech I've been making the same show for 10 years, but the show has continually adapted to match whatever the demographic wants at that time. And that will always happen. I think right now is like kind of a shitty period, but I don't think that it's a permanent departure from what we want. I don't think that like it's like it's all over now. The golden days are behind us and it's going to just decline from here. I think that right now it's a little tough because especially right now when a lot of us, I think, again, I hate to use this word, I think it's about perspective. I think the issue is a lot of us are comparing this to pandemic era because we got used to that and everyone was home and we were used to what that was. We were used to everyone being home and watching our stuff because they couldn't go outside. And so if you skip that part, right? If you skip pandemic era, the period right before that, and the period right now, you would say that this is an improvement and we're growing. The issue is our perspective is shifted because we came out of pandemic era where things were not ideal. Things were not the way that they were going to continue to be. That was like an elevated, amplified version of what we do. And now that restrictions are lifting and things are going back to normal, we see a decline, or at least we don't have the same like instant gratification that we used to, and it's kind of slower now. And I think that might scare us, but I don't think it's a permanent thing. I think it's scary right now. I definitely agree that something's a little wonky right now, but I don't think that's like, I don't think it's all over. I mean, did you think that like in a couple of years you're not going to have a career? Are you freaking out that bad?
No. I don't think that. I mean, I do think more on a personal level about, how long can I do this for? Because I think the daily struggle that most YouTubers face is, how can I make fewer videos that make better views? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that has been my goal for the past 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my personal
Sam's
goal.
shaking his head.
Or at least it hasn't been. I mean, maybe it will be. I mean, to answer your question about it, 2021 or 2022 has not been a great year for my channel so far. And I think that's for a number of reasons. I think there's a general reset happening in the community. I think we're all feeling it. Well, John's just doing the best he's ever done, but like I
mean, not view wise though. Like
no, just money wise.
Yeah, just money wise. But like
he's just Jeff Bezos.
Like, but this is the thing. Like, I understand Front Page Tech is doing what it always does in this period, and that is just treading water. Like, I'm not declining. I'm just getting through whatever this rough period is, and I know that it'll be better on the other end. But that's just like
no.
Well, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Is I've felt. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I think the treading water sensation began probably mid 2021.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
So for me, I think we've been about a year of treading water, and as far as I can tell, I think that's part of what has fueled like the drama that we talked about at the beginning of, well, not the beginning, the majority of this show, right? Is it's like I've got this sense of like this background anxiety that creators have about like the fact that we're treading water for so long, and we're like, okay, what do? We gotta get the pace up. So
tired.
maybe we're gonna take more risks with our channel names and our video titles and concepts and stuff. And then I've also sensed a little bit more like simmering frustration from audiences where like it seems like people want more, but they don't know what they want.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I've just got this like weird vibe that's been going on. Audiences feel a little weird. Creators feel a little weird. I feel like we're all in this boat of feeling a little bit like we're kind of just staying where we are. But I feel like I'm just making videos and getting through the next one, and it doesn't feel as progressive as even before pandemic, because I agree, John, that was a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah, I think that I do see some sort of reset happening because we all feel like we're treading water, and because we feel like not only do we have to get through the next video, but we have to like try harder to get through the next video. And a lot of that means that we try harder to earn that click. And because of that, the titles are becoming a little bit ridiculous. And there's going to be a point of no return where we can't just go back to titling stuff normal. Like right now, we're titling this stuff because it's hard right now. But when it's not hard anymore, we still have to title this stuff the same way because we've conditioned the audience to think that anything else doesn't matter. Like if it's a normal title, it must not matter. And I think that they're getting burnt out from it. We're getting burnt out from it. So I don't think it's necessarily that it's it's an overarching whole tech YouTube issue. I think it's surface level, actually. I think it's just titles and thumbnails that need to be reset. Expectations need to be reset. And the issue is, in order for there to be some sort of reset, we all have to agree. Because if one of us just starts resetting, one of us is going to fucking drown because everyone else is still, like pumping out the crazy titles and the thumbnails. So like, I don't know when it's going to have to be a theme that all of us, and meaning like the creators, stop being so heavy on the clickbait and it's not misinformation, but I mean, it's a lot, and I don't feel good about it. Like when I title Front Page Tech the way I do, or make the thumbnails that I do, I don't feel good about it, but I understand that I have to play the game to get the click, and then once I have them, I can do whatever. I can make the show that I want, but I can't, like, I have to play the game with the thumbnails and the titles. And then after that, I can do whatever I want. I can make the show that I want. But it's hard right now because I don't know when we can all reset and how that, what that looks like. I don't know how that's going to happen. But I know we can't. I know we can't. The titles and stuff cannot continue like this because there's only so much that we can say and reuse. Every like hard hitting headline has been said, and I'm literally taking stuff that, because you said, 2021 is when it started. I'm literally taking titles that worked well last year and using them again this year, and it's working that way. And all I did was replace the new phone that's coming out this year. You know what I mean? It's like, it's literally the same thing. I'm literally having to reuse it because I know it works. And I can't title anything. Like, I have tried. Viewers have been like, hey, they'll meme it. Like, oh, another iPhone 14 video. Okay, I listen. I make something about the headset or about the Apple Watch, and nobody watches. And then they wonder. They wonder why. It's like, I have to pay. I have employees, and I have to pay my own bills. And this is how it works.
Mm-hmm. And it's
definitely
disheartening. It's disheartening from the creator end because I guess it's sort of this chicken and the egg of blame, right? Where a lot of people get frustrated with the creators, and then we in turn get frustrated because we don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are like, oh, how dare John Prosser have all of these crazy thumbnails and clickbaity headlines? But it's like, if you didn't do that, you would lose like half your audience.
Yes.
And I think I tweeted about that, like an analogy, like way back a couple of months ago. I was like, okay, you can hate on clickbait all you want, but if you had a 30-second task at your job that increased your salary by 30%, if you did
more
that
than 30%, yeah,
50%, 70%, would you do that task? And unless it's like, you have to go outside and kill babies. Like, okay, fair enough. That's not, I mean like a mundane,
70%.
like easy thing where, because like literally a title can make or break a video. I just had that happen yesterday with I had my comparison for the base model MacBook Air versus the mid-tier MacBook Air. And the title that I wanted was a title that not a title, a sort of a template, I guess, that I have used for years and years, which was, base model MacBook Air 8-core versus 10-core MacBook Air. What's the difference, essentially, right? There is no emotion or like leading information there. That is just straight up like, this is the comparison. And if you're looking for that comparison, here it is. That used to work for me. I made videos like that for years, all of Apple Silicon even. But that video on the brand new MacBook Air on an Apple channel that focuses on Macs, that was a 10 out of 10 video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
lowest performing video I've had in months.
Sam,
do you know what
can you bring up my channel real quick so I can show the screen?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Luke.
Gotcha.
But do you know what changed that video?
What?
I changed it. Instead of like, what are the differences? I said Apple is hiding some differences. And it went to a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
No.
I would love to
In
just
fact,
say
you didn't. That
8
wasn't your
core
first
M2.
choice. You tried something else.
Exactly. This was my third title. I tried another title before that to try to make it spicy, but not like I don't like to use. I very rarely use all of those like the words, the tech words. I try to do as much as I can to avoid those words.
Yeah.
But this time I was like, bro, this is a 10 out of 10 video that I spent 16 hours on. And if I change one word, if I add one word, it will validate all of that time and get this to an audience. And I hate myself for, doing that. I wish that I could sit here and preach down and, from my high horse on like, oh, well, I never do that.
Yeah.
But then I'd also be saying, oh, well, I make no money.
Yeah.
And I can't do that. I can't do that.
Yeah.
You guys are way better at this than me. Like I just titled my video M1 versus M2 MacBook Air, and it got a few views. Like I guess I need to try harder.
Just be a little spicier.
Yeah. And that's the thing
share
that
your
sucks
screen?
is I feel like I used to put most of my energy into coming up with my video concepts, but now I spend more time like just desperately trying to title a video to get people to click on it.
Yeah.
And the concept will be great. Even recently with a lot of my big projects, like when I did the DIY studio display, that one I thought that video was one that would speak for itself. Doesn't need anything too crazy to promote it. But that video, honestly, in 2019, when I had 70,000 subscribers, that video would have gotten more views.
So can you scroll down a little bit, Sam? Just a smidge. Okay, so if you look for the audio listeners, we have my channel pulled up, youtube.com/geniusbar if you want to see the video version. You can see that there was a trend happening. 270,000 views, 132, 252, 240,000, 168,000, 131,000. And then I had done so many iPhone 14 videos that I tried something different. I did Apple's AR glasses are coming, and I worked for like an hour and a half on that thumbnail, and it got 90,000 views.
Which is so many views, by the way.
But like, you see how I
not
had a
for you.
pattern and I had a trend.
It's all
and then
relative,
And then I broke it, and I did
yeah.
what everyone wanted me to do, and no one fucking clicked. So it's like the people that are complaining about it don't also, but then it's like, I can't even blame the audience. We did this. We conditioned them to be like this, so I can't be upset that they didn't click. I conditioned them to be like this.
us too. That's what I'm saying. I think it goes both ways. Like,
But do you think it started with us? Like the community as a whole?
Genuinely, I think it's chicken and the egg. I don't think that you can blame any one party because our job as a creator is to get more views.
Yes.
And the audience's job as a consumer is to click on what they want to watch.
Well, that's the issue, is to say that it's their job. I don't think it's
okay. It's their prerogative to find the video that most appeals to them and click on it.
Yeah.
So our job is to try to make our videos such that more people will see them and want to click on them.
Yeah.
So
the issue is,
I don't think you can necessarily say, barring, and I'm not talking about like blatant clickbait. I'm not talking about the Apple Circle here, okay? Because that's a whole other ballgame.
Oh, yikes. Woo! That's all I have. Sorry. Yikes. It's getting spicy.
Yeah. Whoa, little.
Don't worry. No one will watch this far into the episode.
No, you just started a fight.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Luke.
I kind of did. But like, I'm not talking about the blatant, egregious stuff that some channels
It's called lying.
engage in.
Yeah, it's just
that's
lying.
another word. Yeah, that's one word. I'm talking about more of the sensationalism stuff that all three of us, pretty much. I couldn't think of a single other YouTuber, but like almost all.
We're the only YouTubers that matter. Just kidding. Just
Almost
kidding.
all
Oh my
YouTubers do it.
God.
But it was one of those things where I don't think you could blame creators, because it's not like any one particular person said, all right, we got to start making stuff up. Let's go, baby. We're going to put hiding in the title. I think it comes down to like, you see other people doing stuff and you're like, oh, I should do that too. And then it works.
But
So
I
then
mean,
you
that's
keep doing it.
the creator's fault. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying it's our side that did this.
But is
Yeah, I
it to
think it's
create?
creators.
Okay, look. If let's take the word, what's your least favorite like title word, John or Sam?
Oh,
Confirmed.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, confirmed, right?
And I use it,
How
so
did-
that should tell you something. Like I fucking hate my life. I hate that word.
Yeah.
I hate seeing it in titles, and I use it.
Let's trace the etymology of that. Where did that come from? Is that the creator's fault, or is it? I would argue. This is going to be a weird analogy, but bear with me. I would argue that it's evolution. All right. Because how
it
does
started with us.
evolution work? How does evolution work, right? It's evolution
I fuck
is
a monkey.
essentially. Oh God.
No.
No, not quite. Okay.
Okay. And we're out. Yeah. I don't think we can. Okay, go ahead.
So how does evolution work? Evolution is essentially random genetic variants that creates different traits, and then the conditions of the environment select which
Hang on.
traits.
While you're saying
work
this,
and
can
which
you
traits
button that?
don't.
Can you button your top button? I feel like that is required for all the.
Oh
words you're
yeah.
saying.
I got you. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now you may proceed.
This is Learning Corner with Professor Luke and Analogy Hour. Okay. So
Thank you, Sam.
We're very excited.
So evolution is random genetic variants. It's not intentional. It's just, random stuff is happening and the environment selects which things are valid and which traits move forward. So I would argue that the same thing is true of YouTube titles and headlines. That's a fun little logical leap there, but it makes sense because
Look at that.
at some point, people started using the word confirm because the audience liked that. It's not the creator's fault that the audience liked that. That's the environment selecting the trait. And so,
Well, that's
when
like saying.
confirmed-
Okay, that's like someone
do you
offered
know what I
me
mean?
that someone offered me heroin and I took it. Now my life is ruined. Like, is it the drug dealer? Because we're the drug dealers. That's what happened. We tried confirmed, and people they went, "Yep, that's good." And now we're just stuck that way. Like, but it started with us because we tested
They
it.
made the choice to take it.
That's true.
okay,
People
Nancy
have
Reagan.
personal autonomy. Let's
Yeah.
not. Yeah. Let's not act like.
Yeah, okay. You can. I think a drug dealer analogy is maybe the more cynical way to look at it.
I'm a YouTuber.
I don't. But look, here's the thing, though: is I
my
think
drug
it's a
dealer
little bit different.
is throttled and overheats on the roof.
But that kind of implies that it's like bad for you. When I don't necessarily think that enjoyment of YouTube content is like detrimental. It's like the audience somewhere along the way decided that certain things, whether consciously or subconsciously, appealed to them. So I don't think you can blame creators for. And I mean, I've never used the word confirmed here, so I'm not defending myself. If anything, I'm defending you.
High and mighty. Wow.
He's got a
everybody,
top
Luke
I probably
Miani.
should.
Okay.
I mean, I don't
we
make
get it.
news
Your
videos,
MacBook
so, like-
2 M Air doesn't overheat
M
'cause you
Air
put sticky
nailed it.
tape
The
on it.
MacBook 2 M Air. Sam
Like,
Cole,
I'm
everybody.
just saying, the MacBook 2 M Air. Look at this guy, Ohio, much.
Hey, don't bring up.
He's
don't
still
bring up
looking for
city
it.
on this podcast.
But like, I don't know. I think my
I see what you're
evolution
saying.
analogy makes sense, right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's a chicken or the egg thing. You
Well-
can't really blame a specific party because the audience wants to click things that are interesting, and the audience and the creator wants to make things that the audience wants to click on. So
Okay, I have a question
it's not,
for you guys.
It's not
now.
as like evil and like malicious as you're making
shit,
it
what
out
just
to be.
happened? I have a question for you guys now. Does my mic still work? Jesus, I thought I messed it
Yeah.
up.
I
Okay,
hear you.
Yeah.
so I don't want to say that that the tech space is oversaturated, because I still think I still think you could start a YouTube channel and make it right now. You got to try a little harder than you had to in 2010, but I mean that's just how it works. I can't say it's oversaturated and like you couldn't start now, but I feel like there is a certain group of us. I hate to say it this way, but there's a certain group of us at the top where we collectively almost share an audience. Like, to a certain extent, the people that know me know Luke, know Sam, know Marquez, know Lou, know all of us, like there's a lot of them are subscribed to all of us. And there's I'm sure a lot of them subscribe to smaller beginning channels as well. But I think that there's like a default list of people, and a lot of us are in that default list. And because of that, we all have to sort of, even though I don't see Luke as competition, I'm not competing in the sense that, I'm making the same type of videos as him, because I'm not, but I am competing for the time of those same people. And people only have a certain amount of time every single day. And there might be a certain extent where 6 minutes with me takes 6 minutes away from Luke. And so, because people don't have to, maybe they just got home from work or they're eating dinner, whenever they opened YouTube, like one of our videos popped up and that's what they chose to watch. So then we are sort of having to like out shitty each other, like sort of be more, we can't be generic with headlines. We can't be vague. Like, it has to be emotional. It has to trigger emotions. It has to be a crazy title. It has to be a crazy thumbnail, because we are all sort of competing for the time of the same audience. And I think that that plays a huge role too in terms of why we have to title things the way that we do. I mean, do you guys agree, or am I off base?
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Because
Like, there are
I
times
mean,
where
how
Sam
many
and I
times-
don't. A lot of times we have our videos done at the same time, and we don't upload at the same time because we know it will take away attention from each other, and we're friends. We don't want to do that.
I mean, you guys definitely overlap. Because I don't think that my audience overlaps with your guys' audience as much, but you're definitely right. Like, the people that know one of us most likely know all of us. And
I mean, this is a good example. On
maybe
Jimmy's
there's
Bar, we don't have to
different
be like,
interests.
we don't have to introduce you. We don't have to tell them who Luke Miani is.
Yeah,
They
Exactly.
all
Yeah.
know us.
And on my podcast, when Sam was here 2 weeks ago, or last week, they all know Sam.
And they
Like,
were like,
I
thank
think
God John's
there's-
not here.
Yeah.
Bro.
John.
Well, I
Did they
think
really?
I don't know that they necessarily despise John from every fiber of their being so much as they were not as amused with your particular performance.
It's okay for
on
your
that
audience to
one
be wrong
day.
and not like fun.
Yeah, I think John Foster's. I
Dude,
think John
honestly
Foster's
though,
funny.
I do kind of wish that my audience would enjoy a little bit more fun every once in a while.
That's
'Cause
what I'm
sometimes
saying.
I try to bring
Unbutton
some
that top
fun
button,
into it.
kids.
I did. Look,
I'm telling
Yeah,
the audience.
I'm
they just
wearing it all-
relax.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Look at me. I'm maximum.
Dude.
fun.
Yeah,
Sun's
get on
out,
the
guns
fucking
out,
roof,
baby.
bros.
dude, did I tell you about this, John?
Oh, God.
Did I tell you about this? I got an angry email. Okay.
What?
So I made a video. When was this? Oh, yeah. It was my upgrading an M1 to an M2 MacBook.
Okay.
That video did very well. And it was sponsored by Shaker and Spoon, which is like HelloFresh for mixed drinks, right?
Okay.
So they send you like ingredients and like bitters,
Alcoholic
and,
drinks?
juices and stuff. And then you put that in, well, they don't send you the alcohol, but they send
Right,
you like
okay.
the recipes to make the drinks. And then each box is like centered around a drink or a particular alcohol, right? Very innocuous, like thing, right? Perfectly normal. I get the angriest email. I used to watch your videos with my family, but ever since you've started peddling this smut, I'm disgusted in you. You're a terrible person.
Smut.
Like, I legitimately
Bro,
had
it's
people that were so
alcohol.
mad, that Shaker and Spoon sponsored
Wow.
my content, that they were emailing me, telling me that they have unsubscribed.
Jesus.
Well, here, this goes full circle. You were talking about audience crossover earlier. The reason this has got me so flamed is that I had people in my comments, and okay, well, you sound like my audience. So, I had people in my audience after I made my MacBook video of where I literally showed that the SSD was slower, but that I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Where they were like, "You're putting this under the rug. How could you, Apple shill, unsubscribed?" And I'm like, I literally said know this going into it. But for me, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Shocker, 3 days later of using this laptop every day, it has not been a problem at all for me. And it's Luke Miani's fault for them leaving that comment.
Hey, now you watch it, because I had the same experience, okay? Because in my video, I addressed both very fair claims. Now,
Yes.
I think it's more. I think the thermal throttling. We talked about this earlier. The thermal throttling is less important. I think the SSD is just stupid because, like, why? Just why would you do that? Just
fix it.
It didn't have to happen. It's an objective downgrade. I think it's dumb that they did that. But I also understand that for a lot of people that are using this as their web browsing device, they're not going to notice that. So I mentioned that. I had a segment where I covered in Final Cut Pro and Blender, even with nearly identical systems, the SSD makes the base model way slower. Like, we're talking 10 minutes for a render versus 6. That's a big difference in 4K video editing, which does not cause any thermal throttling. So the thermal throttling is not an issue there. But for video editing, which is something a lot of people do on MacBook Airs nowadays, that's a very big difference, and that is absolutely something that you should know.
Yeah.
But then I followed that by saying, I also get how this isn't a big deal if you're not doing this. There's a $200 difference. You could say, I don't want to spend $200 for that faster SSD because it doesn't affect me, because I'm just using Google Chrome, or I'm just writing Word documents, so it doesn't matter. And it can be a downgrade but not affect me. I said both of those things, and I get comments on either end. I get some people that are like, you keep fixating on this. This sucks. This is sensationalized, whatever. I'm like, no, it's not. If it's a 4-minute difference in your render, that is not sensationalized. That's a big deal if that matters to you. And then I get other comments that are like, why would you say that doesn't matter? This is the worst thing they've ever done. And I'm like, it might not be.
Samothy?
Yes, Sam.
Thank you. That's the first time I've been polite this entire episode.
Good job.
And that's because, Luke, you're structuring your videos in a way that is intriguing but not irresponsible. And I think if I'm just being straight up, I think it was Max Tech hammering on about this video after video after video after video after video after video, that then people started to come to my audience and were like, bro, why aren't you, I can't believe, like, I respected you. And I'm like, motherfucker, I have been the only one in the tech space consistently talking about Apple controversies in a very fair and nuanced and balanced way for years. When Apple said that the iPad's bending was normal, and people were yelling at me because I said it was a made-up quote from The Verge that was on background, even though it was real, I was like, no, an iPad bending out of the box is completely unacceptable. So then when people are coming at me for this, when I'm like, yo, I've done my research. I've tried the SSD. And for me and how I use my MacBook Air, it's not a problem. You're now coming at me? What the fuck, man? Like, Max Tech is not me,
Okay,
bro.
I don't know that you could blame Max Tech for that.
No, I'm blaming
think
the
that's-
audience.
Max, Vadim, we will see you next week.
I'm not blaming Max Tech for that. I'm saying that they fed the fire. Can we all agree?
I would agree that I would say that they started the fire. They lit it.
They started and continued to stoke the fire, and other people continued to stoke it as well. It's not just them. It's other people like me talking about it that are fully feeding into the fire. I'm aware.
It's like they just played with a match one time, and now all of California is in flames.
I want to put myself on blast here. Me making rumor videos about the iPhone 14, because of the nature of how rumors work, can very well set unrealistic expectations that then make people set. This is the perfect example. I'm talking about satellite connectivity on the iPhone 14. That's something I'm very personally excited for. That's been a pretty core part of my content. I really hope that no one from my audience goes over on the Max Tech iPhone 14 video when satellite connectivity isn't there and it's like, what the hell, man? Where's the satellite connectivity? Unsub.
Well, I think the biggest example
Like, I
of
don't
setting
want
the
that. It's
wrong
not right.
expectations are, because I don't think we will ever see anything like this again in the community, but the Apple Watch reveal last year. Like, that was insane. Everyone was shocked. At 100, that is one of those leaks that 100%. Like, I gave the design leak for that Apple Watch 7 months before the event, but within that 7 months, 91 Mobiles put out a cat agreeing with me. Mark Gurman agrees with me. Kuoming Chi agrees with me. So all the people that you trust are saying the same thing. 100% of the people expect to see a certain thing, and then we are all shocked during an event, and that was all done by like a YouTuber, which is that's what we do. That's like, we set these expectations, and that is it's crazy to see stuff play out like that, because it's not just the Apple Watch. That's a really good amplified example of that. But I mean, we sort of do it with every single video.
We all play into it. And right now I'm the one getting heat from other people in my comments. And in the fall, people are going to be bullying my other friends like Max Tag, be like, where my iPhone 14 this? When the Apple Watch again isn't flat, people are going to be like, why are you friends with Jon Sam? He the worst. And I'm like, I know, but I love him.
Bro, I've had a lot of those iPhone.
I'm just being a big
14 stuff.
crybaby.
Every time I make an iPhone video, I get a lot of those.
Oh, do you?
I'm sorry.
Because I'm
sorry.
Like, if you look at my channel content over the past, like, this year, I've almost completely exited the news game. Not intentionally, but I bought an iMac, but I really shouldn't have. But yeah, like, if you go over there, there's maybe, I had right before WWDC, I had a last minute leak.
Why did you stop doing news?
I don't know.
It
Honestly,
didn't get views. Say it. Be honest.
Well, there's an iPhone 14 video.
Well,
iPhone
so
14,
that was
how
the thing
Apple
is-
will get you to upgrade.
right? But look at the views on that.
Yeah.
It's definitely like,
And look at that.
and
That's
that
another
was
news
I had
video.
back to back. Yeah, my news videos have become my least viewed, and they were always like, they were never that high in view count. But I guess I've just been focused more on.
But is that because
I've been like getting my average up, right? But like, every time I make a news video, I do get comments that are like, "Oh, you tech YouTubers are always setting these expectations and stuff." I'm like, bro, I don't even make these videos anymore.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying.
And that's my
Is that
fault.
a side effect? Is that a side effect of us sharing the same audience? It's like they go for me to news for news, so why would they go to Luke? It shouldn't be that way. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's an issue with us sharing an audience. That'd be like, if I fucking made a MacBook Air video, that shit would get 3,000 views. No one would care. I'm not Luke Miani. I can't try to be Luke Miani. And is that because my audience knows who you are? They know where to go? They're conditioned to, like, we're almost segmented and segregated into our own different divisions. And the audience, they all subscribe to us, and they all know we go here for this, we go here for this, we go here for this. And then it's rinse and repeat forever. until we convince.
I don't like this. This sucks.
Oh, doesn't it?
I think my greatest goal on YouTube, that I've sort of been trying to do. Well, I guess there's two main goals. Number one is I would love to make fewer videos. I want to spend more time.
Why is that?
On
Luke's like, I want to work. Not at all.
Luke's got one foot out the fucking door.
That's not it at all. It's not about not working. It's about working. Instead of spending 3 days where I work on 3 different videos, I want to work on the same video for 3 days. I want to take longer to make my videos. So I don't want to work less. I want to make better videos. I'm essentially saying quality over quantity.
Yeah, but that's the issue. Like, that's not what the audience wants you to show up to them every day.
It's really annoying. They want to see me every 3 days, but the problem is I have this one project that I've been working on since May, and it is a banger video, and it is a guaranteed hit. It's going to get views.
Say it. What is it?
Can you tease it?
I'm making a Mac Mini Wii.
What?
I'm making
I'm sorry,
a Mac
what?
Mini. I'm making a Mac Mini that lives inside of a Wii.
Are we talking like the same Wii that I think you're talking about, like the one from like 2007?
Yes.
Why is it taking
remember? Well, okay, so
he's putting a Mac Mini in a Wii.
Done.
I'm putting a Mac Mini in a Wii, and that requires
Does the disk drive work?
I have to make
Can you put discs
it's a Wii
in the
shell.
Mac Mini? Oh, okay.
Yeah, come on.
Then I won't click. Fuck this. Nobody click now.
But yeah, so I'm like, it's a really fun video. I'm like,
holy shit.
I'm learning how to solder because I had to make a custom power supply situation.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm learning how to 3D print to like mount it in there. And I'm like, it's like, there's a lot going on in this video. And I know that it is going to get views. It's going to do numbers, but I can't work on it because it's like, I haven't uploaded in 4 days. Got to come up with something. Yeah. Oh, and also, I got to keep the lights on. I got to make videos so that I can have sponsors in the videos. And then I got to work on the sponsor segments. Bro, if I could make a TV show where I just like worked with like a group of people for like 6 months and made like 18 episodes that were like feature length, really well put together, I would do that in a heartbeat. I would absolutely give up the digital age and go back to like traditional media because I just would love to have the creative process and take my time and then release stuff when it's done. But you can't do that on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could.
Well, there are people that do
more
that.
Successful. There are people that do that, and I would like to get to that point.
Here's the thing that we're not saying out loud.
It's hard to do.
Here's the thing we're not saying out loud that I want the audience to understand.
Oh boy.
All of us could stop doing what we do today and be fine with zero income.
I'm sorry. Speak for yourself, buddy.
I could not.
I agree with
Sam.
Could you or could you not pay all of your bills at your current rate of living right now for a year with the money you have saved?
Yes. I agree.
Just.
You.
Sam's
we'll talk about that after the show. Here's my point.
I'm in a bit of a bind right now.
You're down bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to.
Oh, that sounds like a fun conversation after the show.
That is. No, my point being, we could stop and completely change the direction that we do. We just have to sacrifice 6 months of money. And none of us are willing to do that.
That's true.
Myself,
Sam, that is the best point you've made the whole episode.
Myself, very much
true.
included, by the way.
And it's not just those 6 months, though. That's the only problem. It's not just those 6 months of income, because we all know that YouTube breaks can be very bad and it can be hard
regardless
to come back
of what
from.
they
so
say.
It's not even exactly.
Yeah.
They all say, "Oh, you'll be fine. You'll make it back." But I have had situations where it's been I was in college for most of the time that I've been doing this. So I've had, I'm moving, I'm going on a trip with my family, and then I'm coming back for 4 days, and then I'm moving to a new location. How do I make videos in that amount of time? And I've had those gaps come up, and it has taken me several months, and I've burned many great videos trying to get back to where I was. So it's not just 6 months, and that's why, it's not just a matter of like, let me just take a month off, a month of no income to make some really great content the next month. It has much broader impact than that.
Should I quit for a month? I've never really taken a break.
It would probably reinvigorate your drive for this.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I've had a couple of little breaks that I worked on that were, well, that's the other thing.
I'm the opposite.
Right?
If I stop working, if I fall out of the rhythm, my brain goes into a completely different mindset of like, I don't really want to do it. Like I
do that too.
It's hard to get back. It is so hard to get back into it, where if I just force myself to make an episode and I get back into the rhythm and it's like my normal day today, I'm fucking golden. But if for some reason I take just long enough, it's not that I lose interest. It's just like there's a hurdle in front of me of like, oh my God, to kickstart this thing back up again would be hard. And there have been times where like, I don't know, 2020 or something is when I took like a 6-month break from YouTube or something crazy. I just left for a while and I moved and stuff. And that was after, keep in mind, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly, that was after the crazy growth spurt of me beginning to leak. Like 50,000 subscribers a month, 50,000 followers a month on Twitter. And then I just fucking left, like in the peak of it. And I took 6 months off, and I considered never coming back. I considered doing something else. I consider, like, there was other job opportunities that I had where I considered it, just because I got so far out of the cycle to where, so I have a personal issue where I disassociate. Like, the person that I see in the videos, I don't think that's me for some reason. And the further and further away I get from that person, the more I think that it's not even part of my life, and I start to think about doing other things. It's crazy. So if I were to take a break, like a long break, there's a chance I wouldn't come back. I don't know why, but that's just how my brain works. Luke, you said you're similar?
I'm similar in terms of it takes me a while to get back into it. Like when I think in January, the last 2 Januaries have been down months for me because I basically realized, took me a while, but I was kind of like, all right, nothing happens in January. So why am I sitting here trying to like keep my views consistent, right? What's the point of trying to make something work when nobody's paying attention? I'm just going to like make 3 videos, 2 of them in advance, and just vibe for a month. And it was fine. After a while, I stopped even paying attention to the fact that my views and revenue dropped by like a lot. And I was just kind of like, doesn't bother me anymore.
Perfectly timed,
it's
Sam.
fine.
Thank you.
I was making like college internship money and trying to live off of it. And I was kind of like, whatever. But then when it came time to get back into it, I was like, oh God, I haven't made a video in a while. That's a lot of work. Oh man, I could just watch another episode and go hang out with my girlfriend. Like, you know what I mean?
Dude, I'm complete opposite of you guys. I'm always ready to go. I have worked maybe this will make people in the audience that are going through it right now feel better. If you're also in the trenches, I have never worked harder in my life than in 2022. And I've probably gotten the least results out of like any recent year on YouTube ever by like,
but are you having fun?
I would be out. If that was the case for me, if my channel was like the worst that it's been in a couple of years and I was working the hardest that I have in a couple of years, I would probably have quit by now.
Bro, you just shit right into Sam's mouth.
Yeah,
no, I'm complimenting.
Is where,
if that was me, I would just fucking quit.
No.
No,
I appreciate
that's
I
a commentary
appreciate-
on my willpower.
No.
I'm saying that this is a compliment.
If I were you, bro, I'd just fucking quit. It's not made for you. That's what you said.
No,
I know what he was saying, though. I know what he was saying.
You know what I mean. Sam knows
Yes,
what I mean.
I
If
know what
was
he means.
feeling-
You started
if
to
I
say
was
the sentence,
feeling-
and I was like, there is no way Luke is going to finish this. And then you did. And I was like, oh my God. I can't believe you
Okay,
said
but
that.
you're
saying
hearing
that-
it with your cynical, weird little ears.
That's where I've been at. Luke, if I'm being straight up, I have been there since July of 2021.
Really?
I have been in this spot for a year. And it's fine most of the time. But like, no, I'm genuinely frustrated that like, and this comes from a place of love. But like, yeah, I definitely have that thought in my head. I know John's gonna be like, that makes me sad. But I'm like, John Foster gets 250,000. I can't even get 34,000 on the exact. We literally made a video with the exact same content. And I'm like, I spent like an hour on the thumbnail. I thought of the title before. Like I'm telling you, I've worked the hardest I've ever worked. And I'm like, fuck, man, just not my fucking year. Like it's not like I don't want John to win or I don't want Luke to. Like that's not it at all. I'm just like, damn, I gotta keep trying.
I know
out
exactly
here. Like
what you mean.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like I want you guys to be uber successful. There's just
I get that
of
with
course,
Max
there's a human
Tech.
part of me. Yeah, there's just a human part of me where I'm like, man, I can't even get like a little bit. But then I'm like, maybe it's me.
But Sam,
Like, what
the way
can I
I
do
look
better?
at this is like, because there are down periods with Front Page Tech, and there's times where I'm making episodes where I feel shitty because it's not, and it's almost like the more I put out, the worse it gets. Like it's like I'm pushing against the YouTube system, and it's not what it wants, and it just keeps every video is lower and lower and lower, and but the thing that keeps me sort of grounded is you're only one video away. Every sort of growth spurt or change that I've had has happened within one video, and all it takes is one video to break. And I don't know why there's like a specific. It's like contextual to your channel. It's not because we made the same video. It's because YouTube is seeing your channel a certain way, and like you have to. It's like you're competing with yourself. Like you have to break out of some sort of whatever cage YouTube has decided to put you in. You break out of that, and then it starts rewarding you. And it's so strange. It's so weird. But it's not because we made the same video. It's because my audience is fucking locked into what I'm doing, but there's times where I do the wrong thing, I misstep, and then I have to like fight to get rewarded again because I mean the AR glasses thing is a good example. Like I was in the trenches after that. My views were down, and I have to put like exclusive renders out or something to break the cycle and get me back to have the system reward me again. It's super.
I haven't
it's
had
super
that
strange.
experience. Mine has been weird because I used to do that. Like I had videos, even when I had 10, 20, 30,000 subs, I would have these breakaway videos that would get 500,000 views. And it's weird because those have become harder for me to do as I've gotten bigger, which is totally paradoxical. Like I literally got known off of those videos, and now those videos perform less than they did when they were, let's be honest, a lot more shitty 3 years ago.
But 3 years ago was a pandemic.
No. This was
2019.
2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm talking
Luke,
about
I feel
like,
the exact
I didn't
same
even
way.
have
I feel the exact same way.
It's weird because like my first ever new product review was the 2019, the cheapest version of the 2019 MacBook Pro when they gave it quad core processors and a touch bar. Super like under the radar update to a MacBook that was already pretty much hated. And I made a video on that, and it got 750,000 views in like 3 weeks when I had 70,000 subs. I was like, holy fuck, that's amazing. And so now I make a video like that on the MacBook Air, same concept, buy the base model, review it on launch day, 80,000 views. When I have like 5 times the subscribers, and I'm like one of the earliest people, and I always get comments that are like, how do you not have 1 million subscribers? Or like, this is so thorough. And it's like one of, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why is it that I had 70K and those videos were going absolutely ballistic, and now like my projects, my new videos, all of the things that used to be those big ticket, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 800,000 videos, those are now like 150 or 200.
Well, do you think it's because of like the stuff we talked about earlier, how we've conditioned the audience differently, and so they expect stuff differently now? Like, is it the videos that they're not interested in anymore, or is it not? Is it like the concept, or is it because we're packaging it wrong? Is it the title, the thumbnail? Is it because we're sharing, time with everyone else? I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to know, but I think that the best example that I could give you, and I really have to go after this, so we gotta wrap it up here.
Okay.
But the best example that I can give you about this was my 2 most viewed videos. I followed up with sequels that were objectively better in terms of title, thumbnail, content, editing, quality, packaging. Every single thing was improved, and they did a fraction. My number 1 most viewed video is unboxing a sealed 17-inch MacBook Pro 13 years later, 1.6 million views. Nowhere close to Sam's most viewed video, but that's my top of the heap.
I've got that going for me.
And then I have the video where I bought a pile of MacBooks. That was like a very big video for me when that came out. Those are my 2 like big videos.
Just that sentence by itself. I bought a pile of MacBooks. You just said that so casually.
It's great. I bought a pile of MacBooks. And I recently, I made a very similar video where I did a much more, way better version of it. It was more variation. In that video, all the MacBooks were literally identical. So I was just fixing up 12 of the same laptop. This one was 32 MacBooks for less money with much more variation. And it got quite literally a 1/5 of the views, even though I have 3 times the subscribers. So I don't even know. More exciting thumbnail, more exciting title, better packaging, better quality.
More thermal throttling for sure. For sure. No. John, can you show my screen really quick? I want to give the audience an example. Really quick to wrap up, then we'll go, Luke. So you guys know for a long time I was doing like the really funny intros, and I really liked them. Like I had a good time with them, and it was always a fun creative challenge. So I was like, I wonder how these do. I've never actually looked. Do people like these? People fucking clicked off the videos so fast when they see a guy in a Yeezy hoodie eating a plant like a T-Rex. They're like, bro, I just want to know if there's good news for the iPhone 4. Like, bro, just look at this example.
So all of those videos with the lower percentage are ones with intros, correct? Like your crazy intros?
Like, this is funny as hell. I'm eating my plant.
So you found that the funny intros reduced?
No.
Yes.
Horribly.
Yes.
Horribly.
All the ones at the top are the ones with just him getting into it.
This is a recent upload. This is the one from like a week ago.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So that vibe. Like same with this.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've started to do as well with season 10.
Yes. So that's something where I'm like, I think it'll take time to retrain the algorithm, because like I was literally losing 15% of the people that clicked on my video didn't keep watching because of me.
But within the first 30 seconds, that's crazy.
What?
It's under content, and then you scroll down to key moments for audience review. Something
that I've learned. So with season 10, I've changed the format of Front Page Tech for the first time in 10 years, where now the main story of the show, the one that's in the title and the thumbnail, is first. You would think logically in your brain, you're like, no, save the main one for last so they watch till the end. But for this one, I just experimented. I was like, what's the worst that can happen? I try this for a week and we'll see what happens. By putting the first story, the main story first, I have increased retention from like 60% to 85%, 85%. And I think it's because I'm delivering right away and like sort of earning that trust, and because they like the first story, they like the vibe of the show, they're like, oh, I'll stick around for the second story too. But I found when I put the main story last, there are more people complaining, being like, this is not what I clicked on, and then they leave.
Interesting.
So anyway,
Very interesting.
Luke
Sorry to cut
Miani,
this short.
everybody.
I'll have to come on again.
Thank
No.
you for coming
Thank
on
you.
the
We
show.
gotta have you on every week. Thank you for giving us more time than you promised.
That was
first
a
of all.
great episode. Probably
Luke-
one of our best. Thank you, Luke Miani.
Luke, I want to apologize if I came on strong and was attacking you.
No, you're
That
good.
was not my
This
intention.
was not even gonna lie. I'm very curious to see audience reaction, because this episode had a crazy start. We were coming in
did.
real hot.
And
I was
that
caught off. I was off guard by that.
Well, Sam
I'm
was just
sorry.
sitting
I
here.
didn't-
Luke and I are setting up for the show, and Sam is sulking, and he's like, "Can we just start the show? Can we just start the show?" And I was like,
Yeah.
what is going on?" This man was ready to go.
Pants.
I was. So, Luke, I want to apologize to you.
Patience
you know,
is
man
short
to
as
man.
his sleeves.
But I apologize if I came on hot. That wasn't just. I apologize for coming on hot.
Sam, do you want to talk
And that
after the
I-
show? Are you okay, man?
Yeah, I'm good, and I appreciate you. Okay, we're gonna press this button so Luke can go to fucking bed because it's
Yay!
it's like
Luke
4 a.m. where
Miani.
Luke goes to sleep.
I love recording this show at the end of the day.
Deep breath, guys. We made it. Max Tech, I love you.
See you next week, Max
Luke
Tech.
Miani, I love you.
Bye-bye.
I'm speaking from love.
Thank you, Luke
I
Miani.
love
Go subscribe.
everyone.
Go follow
There's no
Luke.
beef.
Yay!
Dude, that music do be hitting though.
Okay.
Dude, just imagine that plays in a studio that we're all in.
Imagine it.
bro. On
Bro,
the
it's gonna happen.
speakers.